We are entrusting the day and the endeavor to the Lord. Let's go. Welcome to my channel where I visit many good books but live in the Bible. My name is Sarah Christine and today we're going to talk about Pippi Longstocking by Astrid Lindgren. I picked this up because the family I've been babysitting for since moving to grad school has been just delightful and very indulgent with letting me read whatever I want to their kids. And I've been revisiting a lot of childhood classics. Like we read Strega Nona, Charlotte's Web. We're reading Diary of the Worm tomorrow, Lord willing. And I'm like, I want to read Pippi Longstocking to them. If you're not familiar with Pippi Longstocking, this book follows our eponymous girl wonder who lives with a horse and a little monkey named Mr. Nilsson in a house called Villa Villacula in a town where she is far and away the most interesting person around. For one thing, she's got no parents in the house. Her mom passed away when she was a baby and her dad was a ship captain who got wrecked, and Pippi is convinced he is not dead. Her hypothesis is that he was wrecked on some cannibal island and he is now king of the cannibals, which if you have seen Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest, it's like, that is an insecure job position in the extreme.
Oh, go on, go get them!
But we hope for the best for Mr. Longstocking, Captain Longstocking. And actually, there are other books in this series where, no spoilers, but yeah, he's not dead. So, read those too if you get the chance. Anywho, for another thing, Pippi is the strongest girl in the world. A fact that comes in very handy as she's settling into Villa Villacula and her new community and doing all the usual things like hanging bullies from trees, playing a rigorous game of tag with the police, joining a circus spontaneously, and saving 2 kids from a burning building. Suffice to say, I had a lot of fun reading this and I cannot wait to share it with the kids that I babysit, not only because I think Pippi is a wonderful mix of earnest and eccentric, and I just think she's a great character to have living in your head, but also because Pippi exemplifies 2 traits that I think are really important for human flourishing and something that I want the little kiddos to know as they grow, and that is how to be content and how to be generous. So that's what we're going to talk about today, how to be content and generous like Pippi Longstocking. First up, contentment, and before I get into it, I want to provide a definition which has been very helpful and fruitful for me of what it means to be content, and this is not my definition, it's not the dictionary's definition. This is from a woman who was at the church that baptized me in DC, and I heard her speak on a singleness panel, and someone asked her, are you content in your singleness? And she was, I think, in her mid-40s, never been married or anything like that, and she said, yes, I am content in my singleness, because contentment comes down to not dwelling on things that God in His sovereignty has either removed or withheld, and it comes down to being grateful and giving God glory for the things that He has poured out. When I heard that, I was like, yes and amen, girl, preach it. Put it in the dictionary. That is an excellent definition of what it means to be content. It means not dwelling on the things that the Lord in His sovereignty has removed or withheld. And it comes down to being grateful and rejoicing in the things that He has poured out. And can I just say, Pippi does both of those things really, really well. With respect to not dwelling on things that have been withheld, Pippi at one point is questioned by the police about her lack of conventional schooling. And Pippi is not fussed about this. She says on page 41, I have got along fine without any plutification tables for 9 years, said Pippi, and I guess I'll get along without it from now on too. Yes, but just think how embarrassing it will be for you to be so ignorant. Imagine when you grow up and somebody asks you what the capital of Portugal is and you can't answer. Oh, I can answer all right, said Pippi. I'll answer like this. If you are so bound and determined to find out what the capital of Portugal is, then for goodness sakes, write directly to Portugal and ask. Yes, but don't you think that you would be sorry not to know it yourself? Oh, probably, said Pippi. No doubt I should lie awake nights and wonder what in the world is the capital of Portugal. But one can't be having fun all the time, she continued, bending over and standing on her hands for a change. For that matter, I've been in Lisbon with my papa, she added, still standing upside down, for she could talk that way too. So yeah, Pippi is not dwelling on the fact that she has not been able to sit in a conventional classroom. And with respect to not dwelling on something that's been removed, I mentioned this in the intro, but Pippi is functionally an orphan. Like, her mom died when she was a baby, and her dad has been AWOL for a minute, but Pippi doesn't let herself get down about it, and she doesn't languish and meditate on the fact that both of her parents are absent. In fact, I think Pippi's general attitude towards life is one that doesn't dwell on the dark side. At one point, she is playing with her new friends, Tommy and Annika, and Pippi gets kind of like stuck, so it seems, in the middle of this tree. And Annika is starting to freak out. She's like, she's stuck inside the tree. And Pippi's just like, why be sorry? Why complain? And when I read that, I was like, girl, you are so advanced for your age, because I read an apocalyptic fiction novel recently. Actually, I did a full review of it. It's called A Children's Bible by Lydia Millett. And it's a bunch of teenagers, wealthy, like elite teenagers, who are complaining for a lot of the book about the mess that the world is in, because it's like climate catastrophes are wrecking the planet. And I'm like, fair. But at one point, one of the characters, the narrator actually, Evie, does sit back and kind of reflect and go, why are we always complaining? Like, we get to be alive. And in this book, Pippi at one point says, oh, isn't it glorious to be alive? And I'm like, yes and amen. Gratitude, wonder in life will keep you from going to the dark side. And I talked about that in my Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes review, I think, when we're talking about Coriolanus Snow and how ingratitude made him monstrous. But we're not talking about Coriolanus right now. We're talking about Pippi, this girl who not only doesn't dwell on things that have been removed or withheld, but is also a wellspring of gratitude, who rejoices and takes delight even in the junk of life. This is most clearly seen when Pippi goes on a thing-finding mission with her new friends Annika and Tommy, and Pippi is the first to find something. On page 29, suddenly, Pippi gave a terrific yell. Well, I never saw the like, she cried as she picked up a large, rusty old tin can from the grass. What a find, what a find. Cans, that's something you can never have too many of. See, I'm trying not to laugh because I can hear my mom saying that. She has a jar and a can addiction. Oma, te amo, you need to handle it. Anywho, moving on. And a few pages later, Pippi finds a used spool of thread, and she is similarly ecstatic, saying, such a sweet, sweet little spool to blow soap bubbles with or to hang around my neck for a necklace. I'll go home and make one this very minute. For Pippi, what people would consider garbage is a reason to delight and rejoice. It doesn't matter whether it's a rusty tin can or a used spool of thread, Pippi is delighted. And sadly, Tommy and Annika don't find anything on this thing-finding expedition until Pippi suggests that they keep looking, and this time that they look inside an empty tree. On page 34, Pippi says, dear me, how awful. Here I found 2 beautiful things, and you didn't get anything. You must hunt a little more, Tommy. Why don't you look in that old hollow tree? Old trees are usually about the best places of all for thing finders. Tommy said that he didn't believe he and Annika would ever find anything, but to please Pippi, he would put his hand slowly down into the hollow tree trunk. Goodness, he cried, utterly amazed, and pulled out his hand. In it he held a little notebook with a leather cover. In a special loop there was a little silver pencil. Well, that's queer, said Tommy. Now see that, said Pippi, there's nothing so nice as being a thing finder. It's a wonder there aren't more people that take it up. There'll be tailors and shoemakers and chimney sweeps and such like, but thing finders? No, indeed, that isn't good enough for them. And then she said to Annika, why don't you feel that old tree stump? One practically always finds things in old tree stumps. Annika stuck her hand down in the stump and almost immediately got hold of a red coral necklace. She and Tommy stood open-mouthed for a long time. They were so astonished. They thought that hereafter they would be thing finders every single day. It must be said that finding a leather notebook and a coral necklace is a little bit stranger than finding a rusty tin can or a used spool of thread. And as Tommy and Annika go home, they get a brainwave when Annika says, that certainly was strange, Annika said. Tommy, you don't suppose... Do you suppose that Pippi had put these things in place beforehand? You never can tell, said Tommy. You just never can tell about anything when it comes to Pippi. That's fair. Pippi is certainly full of surprises, but I think she can be counted on to be content, to not dwell on things that have been removed or withheld, and to rejoice and show gratitude for the things that have been poured out, whether they're rusty tin cans or used spools of thread. And more than that, you can 100% count on Pippi Longstocking to be generous. This brings me to the second thing that I want to talk about, which is how Pippi Longstocking exemplifies generosity. And to do that, we need to go back a little bit to when Pippi first meets Annika and Tommy and invites them into her home on page 23. And it says, Pippi invited them to step into the parlor. There was only one piece of furniture in there. It was a huge chest with many tiny drawers. Pippi opened the drawers and showed Tommy and Annika all the treasures she kept there. There were wonderful birds' eggs, strange shells and stones, pretty little boxes, lovely silver mirrors, pearl necklaces, and many other things that Pippi and her father had bought on their journeys around the world. Pippi gave each of her new playmates a little gift to remember her by. Tommy got a dagger with a shimmery mother-of-pearl handle, and Annika a little box with a cover decorated with pink shells. In the box, there was a ring with a green stone. Bear in mind that Pippi has literally just met Annika and Tommy, and she is literally throwing open her treasure chest to them. When I read that, I was like, girl, again, so advanced. Like, you know that friendship is more valuable than endless piles of gold. And you don't have to take that from me. You can take that from Muhammad Ali, who has this wonderful poem. I don't know if the title is Friendship, but it goes like this. Friendship is a priceless gift which can't be bought or sold, yet its value is far greater than a mountain made of gold. For gold is cold and lifeless. It cannot see nor hear. In times of trouble, it is powerless to cheer. It has no ears to listen, no heart to understand. It cannot offer comfort or reach out a helping hand. So when you ask God for a gift, be thankful when He sends, not diamonds, pearls, or riches, but the love of real, true friends. And I'm like, oh, Pippi, you know, girl, you know that Annika and Tommy are going to be infinitely more valuable to you than all that glitters in gold. Leaving aside the fact that Pippi understands what plenty of adults today cannot grasp, that people and relationships are infinitely more valuable than anything you could ever hope to have in a treasure chest, Pippi is even more advanced than that, because she's not just generous to her acquaintances and friends. She's generous to people who are trying to steal her treasure chest. Towards the end of the book, two thieves named Thunder Carlson and Bloom come across Villa Villacula and see Pippi counting stacks of her money, all these gold coins. And they're immediately like, this will be so easy. There's just this little kid in the house. We can get the gold out. And they sneak in during the night when they think she's asleep, only to find that Pippi is perfectly alert under the covers on page 109. Listen, little girl, said Thunder Carlson. Come out so we can talk to you. No, I'm sleeping, said Pippi. Is it more riddles you want? If so, answer this one. What is it that goes and never gets to the door? Now Bloom went over and pulled the covers off of Pippi. Can you dance the shashti? Asked Pippi, looking at him gravely in the eye. I can. You ask too many questions, said Thunder Carlson. Can we ask you a few too? Where, for instance, is the money you had on the floor a little while ago? In the suitcase on top of the wardrobe, answered Pippi truthfully. Thunder Carlson and Bloom grinned. I hope you don't have anything against our taking it, little friend, said Thunder Carlson. Certainly not, said Pippi. Of course I don't. Whereupon Bloom lifted down the suitcase. I hope you don't have anything against my taking it back, little friend, said Pippi, getting out of bed and stepping over to Bloom. Bloom had no idea how it all happened, but suddenly the suitcase was in Pippi's hand. Here, quit your fooling, said Thunder Carlson angrily. Hand over the suitcase. He took Pippi firmly by the hand and tried to snatch back the booty. Fooling, too much fooling, said Pippi, and lifted Thunder Carlson up on the wardrobe. A moment later, she had Bloom up there too. Then the tramps were frightened. They began to see that Pippi was no ordinary girl. However, the suitcase tempted them so much they forgot their fright. Come on now, both together, yelled Thunder Carlson, and they jumped down for the wardrobe and threw themselves on Pippi, who had the suitcase in her hand. Pippi gave each one a little poke with her finger, and they shrank away into a corner. Before they had a chance to get up again, Pippi had fetched a rope and, quick as a flash, had bound the arms and legs of both burglars. Now they sang a different tune. "Please, please, miss," begged Thunder Carlson. "Forgive us. We were only joking. Don't hurt us. We are just two tramps who came in to ask for food." Bloom even began to cry a bit. Pippi put the suitcase neatly back on the wardrobe. Then she turned to her prisoners. "Can either of you dance the Shasti?" "Why, yes," said Thunder Carlson. "I guess we both can." "Oh, what fun!" cried Pippi, clapping her hands. "Can't we dance a little? I've just learned, you know." They end up dancing for a long while. Thunder Carlson and Pippi are doing the Shasti, while Bloom is given the task of playing the comb, which I think is a harmonica, until 3 a.m. in the morning, at which point Pippi says, "I could keep on dancing until Thursday, but maybe you're tired and hungry." That was exactly what they were, though they hardly dared to say so. Pippi went to the pantry and took out bread and cheese and butter, ham and cold roast and milk, and they sat around the kitchen table, Bloom and Thunder Carlson and Pippi, and ate until they were almost four-cornered. When they finished dinner, Pippi sends them on their way, but as they're going out, she stops them, says on page 115. As they were going out of the door, Pippi came running after them and gave them each a gold piece. "These you have honestly earned," she said. Let's remind ourselves. Let's just rewind. These two men broke into Pippi's house in order to rob her blind. And by the end of the night, she has danced with them, she has fed them, and she is sending them off with a gold piece apiece. And I'm like, amazing. Because my pastor preached just this week on Luke 6, where we are told in verse 32, "What credit is it to you if you love those who love you? Even sinners love those who love them." And Pippi is loving her enemies in her generosity towards them, which is in accord with Luke 6:35, where we are told, "Do what is good, love your enemies, give, expecting nothing in return, for then your reward will be great in heaven, and you will be called children of the Most High, because he is gracious to the ungrateful and the evil." That is our girl Pippi, being gracious to the ungrateful and the evil, giving, expecting nothing in return. And I'm like, I gotta be more like her. I gotta be, 1 Corinthians 11:1 says, an imitator of those who imitate Christ. I'm like, Pippi be imitating Christ with her generosity. And I gotta try and do the same. And frankly, I might, on my down days, be telling myself, I am not super strong like Pippi. I am weak and worn. I do not have gold coins. I am poor. But in the Lord, I have to remind myself. And if you're out there and you also feel weak and worn and poor, like you don't have anything that you can give, let me just tell you. Isaiah 40:28-31 tells us, "Have you not known? Have you not heard? The everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, he never faints nor grows weary. In fact, he gives power to the weak, and to those with no might, he increases strength. The youths will faint and grow weary, and the young men will utterly fall. But those who trust in the Lord will renew their strength. They will mount up on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not grow faint." So in Jesus, you too can have Supergirl strength, even more than Pippi Longstocking. And you can also have something more valuable than gold, because we are told in Proverbs 22:1 that a good name is to be desired over great wealth, and to be esteemed is better than silver and gold. And we have access to a very good and very estimable name in the gospel of Jesus, because we are told in Acts 4:12 that there is salvation in no one else, because there is no other name given under heaven by which men may be saved. So you don't need to have gold coins in order to give people something worthwhile as you send them on their way. You can give them the name that is above every other name. So if you're sitting there and you're feeling weak and worn and poor, I would encourage you to call on the name of the Lord. We are told in Romans 10:13 that everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. So if you're feeling weak, like you need strength, call on Jesus's name. And if you're there and you're feeling poor, it's like, call on the name of the Lord, that name which is above every other name, that good name which is to be desired over great wealth, that estimable name which is more valuable than silver and gold. And watch as he turns you into a content, strong, and generous soul. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that this was edifying, encouraging, and entertaining, and I hope that you will continue to join me as I visit many good books, but live in the Bible. We're up against the sun. We're up against the sun. Hi ho the dare, we're up against the sun.